Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this weekly Ag Weather Update brought to you by the Farm Credit Associations of North Carolina. Well, a lot of what we're going to be discussing today is going to deal with precipitation and the lack thereof, because the situation is starting to get quite serious in parts of the Carolinas. We need to take a look here at the last 45 days or so of precipitation expresses a rank. So we have 129 years worth of data, and this map shows you that when you get into North Carolina, really out of the Appalachian Mountains, many of these locations have been extremely dry over the last 45 days, some of them ranking in the top 10 driest since record keeping began back in the late 1890s. And when we look at this another couple of ways, I just want to point out here, this would be our last 30 days in terms of percent of normal. And you start to see that there are places here that have seen between 10 and 20% of normal precipitation when looking back over the last month or so. And each time moisture tries to enter the area, it's breaking up, it's staying to the south, and that's starting to create some major problems here because we were quite wet early in the season and then quickly moved over to this drier pattern, and unfortunately it's going to continue. Before I move on from this, though, I just want to point out a few other areas, parts of the upper Midwest and the northern plains. So this region right in through here has been very dry as well, including southern Michigan. We're going to watch those areas change quite a bit this week, and the west has been extremely dry as well. Now, over the last week, what's happened here is that we've seen over the week in the Gulf of Mexico moisture transport just open up straight out of the south, and a lot of severe weather happening here in the southern plains. The issue with the upcoming forecast is that to break this pattern down and allow it to progress to the east is not going to happen. The flow is split, and as a result, it's going to stay very stagnant and slow moving here with time. So just over the last week, while we did have some storms that moved through the middle part of North Carolina, several of these places were missed, received only a tenth or 2/10 of an inch of rainfall, which was not enough to be corrective on the longer-term drought situation. And farther to our north, getting into North Carolina, we're very dry as well. And so we've now started to see on the drought monitor this area showing up as abnormally dry, and we're going to have to keep a very, very close eye on that. So here's what we're watching, and this is why the pattern is a bit stagnant. The northern branch of the jet stream has had this very slow-moving trough right here that is going to build up into the Canadian prairie and take the next 5 days to go from here to there. That's a long time to be spinning here in the northwest before ejecting into the plains. It's going to wait on connecting with the trough that's here just to the north and east of Hawaii, and we have to wait for the first trough that's creating all the severe weather trouble in the southern plains to move out as well. So what we end up getting here is a large ridge in the flow that's going to build over the east. It's going to take our temperatures way up, but it's also going to be blocking in terms of the nature of bringing in moisture to our area. So I'm going to show you this. We're going to go straight to the upper levels of the atmosphere. This is a map showing jet stream level winds. And as I play this forward, you see the features. There's the trough north and east of Hawaii. There's the one coming into the southern plains. And there's the flow going to the north. And here we are in the evening on Monday. Now, playing this forward into Tuesday and Wednesday. Now do you see what I was talking about? That trough is still sitting here. This one hasn't moved much, and the one coming into the northwest didn't move much either. So what we end up getting out of it is a large ridge building here into the eastern part of the United States. And that ridge is there through Thursday, Friday, into Saturday, Sunday. And even though little features try to kind of wiggle their way through, this is the wrong setup to be bringing a lot of moisture back to our state. And now look at this. I'm all the way out to next Monday, and we're still waiting for that trough to exit through the Canadian prairie, through the northern plains. And this is just a very slowly progressing pattern. So the net effect of all of it is shown right here. This is your next 7 days of total accumulated precipitation expressed as an anomaly. And what we're seeing here is that we're going to be down about 3/4 of an inch to an inch in total precipitation this week, while the central plains all the way to the northern plains are expected to get a lot of Gulf moisture transport and just light this whole area up with a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity. Now, if we just take a look at the problem here, it's this high pressure cell. Okay, you can kind of see the clockwise flow around it. All the moisture is coming back on the western side of this, but there's nothing to just shove this out of the way. And that pattern results in the precipitation anomalies you just saw. This is the area where all the moisture is. Over the east, we're expected to be quite dry. Now, this was just a quick view at sunrise this morning. So the sun had almost risen in California by the time I finished this recording. But I want to show you this system yesterday. because it blew up in the plains, massive severe storms. But do you see the problem where we are? So this is the day-night line. The flow is going to come over the top like this. Now, just something to remember here. When the flow comes, so I'll draw kind of a jagged line through the ridge axis. When the flow comes over the top of the ridge out of the northwest, we generally see a lot of convergence in the upper level flow pattern. And what you're going to notice is, do you see how the clouds kind of just fade away there? They evaporate and they just don't penetrate into the east. You notice that? They're just fading. And then here we are this morning, and it's the same situation. So a lot of low-level cloud, but this is not what we would need to really be returning the precipitation to our area. And that all kind of boils down to this map, which is probably our most important map. The effect of the loss of precipitation lately has started to dry out our topsoil. And we have a lot of locations here in North Carolina, parts of South Carolina, Virginia, that are sitting between, well, less than 2% soil moisture, upwards of 5, maybe 10%. Whereas where the Gulf is opening, it's been very wet, and it's going to continue to get wet, and they're going to start to correct some of the drought issues here in the northern plains. I said start, not completely correct, but start to work on those. So let's go take a look at this. This is the flow about a mile above our heads. And what I want you to see is that developing throughout this week, there you go, you can see it sitting right over the top of us. That is our high pressure cell. So the southerly winds coming out of the lower Mississippi River Valley, out of the southern plains. Well, this is Wednesday through Thursday into Friday, now into Saturday. And you know what happened? That high pressure cell went from here and retrograded over toward like Nashville. It moved farther to the west. And that's why this pattern is so stagnant. And it's going to take all the way possibly to about the 25th or 26th before I start to see something signaling this pattern changing here. So we can go from there and take a look at what this is going to result in. It's going to be a lot of severe weather in the southern plains. Major hail risk today right here in this part of Texas. But look, by tomorrow, it just barely moved to the other side of Texas. And it's not going to leave this area throughout much of this week. So if we watch what we've got from our high-resolution modeling, let me show you what we can expect today. So getting through the mid-morning hours on Monday, into Monday afternoon and evening, there could be some scattered showers and storms coming in kind of from the north and west. And this is now getting into the overnight hours. Some of those scattered showers and storms could come into northern parts of North Carolina. As we get into the overnight hours and into tomorrow morning, that's it. It's scattered at best. And then after that, the ridge really begins to take over. Now, I've been building some new graphics for you, and these are all focused now on North Carolina, so we can really just hone in on our area. So this is from the European model, and as we work through this morning into this afternoon and this evening, that's where we're going to be keeping an eye on those showers coming in, those scattered showers and storms. As we go then into the day on Tuesday, ready for this? This is Tuesday evening. Now we're getting into Wednesday. You start to see the flow coming off the Atlantic. Watch, I'll step you back. There's Tuesday evening into Wednesday morning. That's the flow around the high, and there it is, the 1028 high. Now from Wednesday into Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I just played it real fast because I don't need to slow it down. High pressure's in place. We're all the way out to next Monday, next Tuesday, and next Wednesday. I mean, it could be we could go a 10-day time period with, at best, scattered showers and thunderstorms, at very best. So if I just leave it out there to day 10, which is what you get in this map, you can see the effect of that high pressure cell. Do you see this hole right here where all the moisture's on the western side of it? If I just zoom you in, let's just watch the precipitation accumulate. So that's through Tuesday night. This is where we see our best chances of those scattered showers and storms. But I can just zip this on through, and you notice that getting all the way out to day 10, the European model is predicting some places to not see any precipitation. Maybe some scattered storms along the coast coming off of the Atlantic here, but that's all we're looking at this point. Going out there beyond that, or no, let's get a quick recap. I wanted to show you this again. That drier pattern means we're missing out on another inch of rainfall. So our drought situation will likely be getting worse with time here. And just to let you know, the GFS model sees the same setup. So this isn't just one model with one run. It's been multiple model runs all weekend, suggesting this pattern's going to shift this way. Now let's get out there longer term. We see that by day 10, trough develops over the Aleutian Islands, what we call a negative P&A pattern. That's where the jet stream dips into a trough over the west, but higher than normal heights in this area as the flow wraps up into a trough that's centered here, kind of north of New England, but between Greenland and the Hudson Bay. And what that ends up giving us is this area seeing more moisture, but from the southeast up to the mid-Atlantic, we expect conditions to remain on the drier side of things into week 2. And the end of week 2 is the end of May. Now, is the GFS on board? Well, there's the same trough, negative P&A pattern. Now, again, that's where the trough dips here. Higher than normal heights there, and the flow wraps up into that same trough that's sitting here between Greenland and Hudson Bay. So you're probably not going to be surprised to see the same precipitation pattern. So it's this whole area that I'm going to be concerned about to the south and east of that line for the risk of being much drier than normal as we finish out this month of May. From there, let's talk temperatures. We have been cool for a while here. This is our current GDU, Growing Degree Day anomaly map, beginning on April 1st, going through just a couple of days ago. So the cooler weather has prevented us from really shooting out of the gates with a lot of early season heat accumulation. It's been much worse back to the west here, getting into the southern plains. Well, over the last 7 days, we were on average, 5 to 8 degrees cooler than normal. In fact, a broad swath here of the United States was cold last week. Well, what's changing? Take a look at this. High temperatures today, trying to get into the 70s. Got that low cloud cover to get rid of. As we go into Tuesday and then Wednesday, now we're in the 80s. Thursday, we're in the mid-80s. Friday, in the upper 80s, lower 90s. Getting into the weekend, now we're talking about much of the state being in the low 90s, except for along the coast. And that lasts into Sunday. So that negative P&A pattern, which comes in like this and then runs that large ridge, that's what's going to allow us to really heat up. So we're going to see about a 20 to 25 degree increase in temperatures throughout this week from this morning through the end of this week. And does it last? Well, here's day 5 through 10. You see this whole sector here is forecast to be much above average in temperatures. And if you match up the colors here from the European model, I've got much of the state hitting anywhere between a 12 to 15 degree above normal temperature pattern looking out there day 5 through 10. The GFS ensemble sees something similar, although this is an ensemble forecast, so we're kind of smoothing things out a bit. But generally speaking, it's going to be a 6 to 10 degrees above average forecast for us. So this is going to increase our evaporation rates and further put stress on our crops as we deal with these very dry conditions. Going out there longer term, day 10 through 15, the GFS overall is mild, but when you look here at the European, it is really favoring the above average temperatures to continue all the way to the very beginning of June. So this is just something we're going to watch very carefully, as I'm quite concerned about drought stress emerging in this area, greater than what we've already seen. Now, beyond that, is there any reason to think that those temperatures are going to break down? Well, if the MJO is moving toward that side of the diagram, so into the Western Pacific, out of that region north of Australia, this indicates better chances for us staying warm. In other words, this side of the diagram is warm. This side of the diagram where we have been is the colder side. Now, we're going to watch this move quite a bit, but I want to first stretch out longer term, okay? And I want to talk about the newest updates from the IRI Multi-Model Group. Now, this is out of the University of Columbia. They take all the long-range forecast data, which I've already shown you this month, and what they do is they apply a statistical correction to get rid of some bias. Now, June, July, August, you can see that the model's favoring the heat, and I'll show you that in a moment, but the drought conditions here from the plains into the Pacific Northwest. It actually favors more flow, coming like that, there we go, out of the Northwest this summer, meaning that we would see a lot of thunderstorm activity. Now, if that's the current thinking, then I would expect that our drought concerns right now are going to be short-lived. In other words, I'm going to watch them for the next maybe 4 to 6 weeks, but breaking into summertime, I expect, well, the models are advertising, and there's a good reason for this, more precipitation coming into our part of North America here. On the temperature side of things, let's just flip over and take a look at that. what they've got there is a slight warm bias with the greatest heat farther back to the west. So we're looking at a warm summer, but also a stormy summer. That's in the European, that's in the NMME, and that's now in the IRI group. So if they're wrong, which they most certainly can be, it will likely be because the drought situation we do see developing right now continues just to eat away and changing the overall pattern. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to play out. I hope the pattern makes another adjustment. We get stronger jet stream flow out of the southwest and maybe some return of good moisture earlier than I'm currently predicting. But I want you to know that I'm watching that. What is an interesting complement to this is to go out and look at the ocean temperatures. Now, there's a couple of important things I want you to see about this. This region in through here, the cold water there, this is what increases drought risk in the midsection of the United States. But it's this warm tongue extending here, and then look at this. Because over the last, this is the last month. This is what the change has been. Now, all I did was I compared ocean temperatures a month ago to what they are right now. We would expect, because we're going through spring towards summer, that the whole of the oceans in the northern hemisphere warm up. But what I'm concerned about is the fact that this area has warmed up a lot, and this area has warmed up a lot, while this has remained cooler. Now, why I'm so concerned is if we just keep building in the heat to this region, that is going to be what we could tap into for any would-be tropical cyclone later on this year to extract the heat from that. So I want to keep you very aware that the longer-term forecast is still advertising risk in our hurricane season greater than normal because of the warm ocean temperatures and the lack of both an El Nino or La Nina signal here in the Central Pacific Ocean. So that stretches it out, kind of gives you the latest updates on some things I'm concerned about. One last thing very quickly, if we come down to South America, southern Brazil is expected to get some rain at the end of this week, but much of the safrinha crop in Brazil is going to remain very, very dry. And as much as 60% of that crop has experienced very, very dry conditions, and the risk for it having much lower than normal yields is still quite high. So that's another area around the world that we're going to keep a close eye on. I'll wrap it up there. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you again next Monday. Thank you.